All right, okay, that says.
Right, take two.
Take two. Go on, Chas.
The Infamous Adventures of Hellcat. This idea is something that I sat down and I thought, and I wrote about it quite a bit. I've wrote it down on paper, I've written it down on here. Hellcat. It's all around Hellcat. Hellcat was tricked by the devil while playing a game of... Scratch that, let me reword it. Hellcat tricked the devil in a game of poker, a game of chance. Him and the devil played a game for Hellcat, so the game was never finished, and there was a contract which was signed by the devil and by Hellcat. Hellcat was very fortunate that in small print that was written down, there was no witnesses to actually witness the signing of this contract. So Hellcat's soul escaped the devil, and the devil is is not happy at this, not happy about this whatsoever. And then Hellcat is sent to the deepest depths of hell, while the devil is finding another way around this to make Hellcat submit to the devil. So their episodes, I feel like this will be best in episodic format with multiple points, whereas in the actual project I'm only going to focus on the first episode, A Long Night in the Graveyard. But there will be 12 episodes, but like I said, I'm going to focus on episode 1. Every episode will be between 15 to 25 minutes depending on how complex the idea of the episodes are. I feel like there's a kind of a play on words between the episodes, with each episode kind of telling you what the episode's going to be about. For example, A Long Night in the Graveyard, he spends a night in the graveyard. The Devil's Junction is literally a junction with a bunch of demons around it. Hangman's Tree is literally going to be an episode around the tree. The Nightmare of Dreams, Hellcat has a bunch of nightmares. A cuppa and a cart. There's a cup of tea involved and a cart. Musical chairs. The episode is going to be a game about musical chairs between the devil and the Hellcat. Onto the actual first episode. I feel like actually explaining what the episodes are going to be about and what they're going to do is a very, very fine thing to look at. The start of the episode will be Hellcat walking through a cave with multiple shots, just focusing on him from different angles, documenting his journey to Necropolis, the land of the dead. And he decides to rest up in an actual graveyard. For Necropolis's graveyard is literally the point before Necropolis. So whereas there is a group of skeletons and a group of ghosts. The skeletons live in the catacombs, whereas the ghosts live in the graveyard. And there is a conflict between the ghosts and the skeletons. The skeletons want to be where the ghosts are, whereas the ghosts want to stay there. And Hellcat gets thrown in the middle of this and ends up like the saying go, wrong time, wrong place. That's what happens with Hellcat in this episode, and the conflict between the two groups gets worse and worse, as with Hellcat in the middle of it. And it doesn't help that he picks up a sacred ornament jar which the ghosts cherish. I feel like explaining other episodes as well will actually help with the idea of Hellcat. So episode 2, it's more his interactions in Necropolis. I did not choose a great font for this PowerPoint. The episode is Hellcat walking into Necropolis and goes to a bar with a demoness known as Gabriella performing at this bar. And everyone's infatuated with the demoness. And Hellcat is just sitting by the bar, gets called in, speaks to Gabriella, and he finds out he has to kill someone. He has to kill Cordovar, which is from Indian mythology. Cordovar is a cat demon. which I thought was a very nice fit between Hellcat and, which is him being a demonic cat, with Cordovar from Indian mythology. I thought that was a nice little touch. And his contract was to kill Cordovar. However, at the end of the episode, the conflict is resolved between Cordovar and Hellcat, and they actually begin a friendship. And to episode 3. Episode 3 is the episode Don't Be Scared of Roller Coasters. This one is probably the most basic and generic idea I had to do with this sort of episodic series of The Infamous Adventures of Hellcat. The episode is both Hellcat and Cordovar stumbling upon a theme park, and Hellcat is absolutely terrified of theme parks for multiple reasons. Okay, so inspiration. So I've been very, very heavily influenced by the rubber hose aesthetic for this project. It's slowly getting rejuvenated by stuff like Cuphead and multiple different shows similar to it. We'll be focusing on stuff like Baby Bop, like I said, Cuphead, like the game mainly, not the actual animated series on Netflix. It's not the greatest. Old school Mickey Mouse, Tom and Jerry, Felix the Cat, and especially Alice in the Wonderland. Alice in the Wonderland has a very good aesthetic towards the Wonderland. It is very dark, and the Tim Burton has done an amazing with the scenes in it and the backgrounds and the whole aesthetic of the actual place. And I feel like that's a good place to look at for my own backgrounds, my own settings, because it's a heavy focus towards Infamous Adventures of Hellcat to actually have these backgrounds. So these are some examples of mood boards I have compiled together of Coco the Clown from Betty Boo, Betty Bop, and Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is one of the most famous Rubber Hose characters in existence, whereas Coco the Clown, people just know him from his Ghost song. Technical skills. This will be a very technical heavy project with me using multiple different softwares. So Adobe Premiere Pro, I will be mainly using that for the actual timeline of the actual project, cutting up and compiling the footage together to make sure the cuts are in the correct place, the timing's right and everything like that. Adobe After Effects, it will be used for probably the animating with the Rubber Hose 2 After Effects plugin with and there will 100% be used to be sorry, I've got a really dry mouth. With Adobe After Effects, there will also be used for color grading, and Adobe Auditions will be used for the voice acting if there will be. That decision hasn't been made yet, and it will 100% be used for music and for sound effects to make sure that there is a very good sound towards it. Adobe Photoshop will be used for promotional materials like for posters and sorry, really dry throat. For promotional materials, Adobe Illustrator is mainly just for designing of characters and yeah. So onto the animation, I haven't fully decided on what route to take it. There are many different ways to animate. I've mentioned Rubber Hose 2, the After Effects plugin, Cell Action 2D, a very good platform for animating, as well as Cartoon Animator 4, which is another choice. There are many things to actually sit down and research for this project. I want to look at the history of Rubber Hose animation and the modernization of the actual aesthetic and style of it. I want to have a detailed look into the demographic of the sort of target range I'm looking for, which is between 14 to 16, and just due to certain things. What platform is it going to go on with the format, with the YouTube and with the film festival that I'm aiming to go at, which I will speak about in a later point. need to have a detailed look at the softwares and the limitations of those softwares. Yes, and there's a bunch of stuff to look at for world building, like Robert Crumb, David Lynch, Eraserhead, for the actual world building, which is the most crucial part of the infamous adventures of Hellcat. The client. So I'm mainly looking at a film festival known as the British Animation Film Festival, or I am aiming towards the Student Award, which is quite a thing. There are price lists of the actual deadlines right there, of the prices. I honestly don't know why they did it in dollars, even though it should be done in pounds. So, so the format is quite lenient with it, from what I can tell. With the format aspect ratio, they're being quite lenient on, and stuff like that. And,
Deadline?
the deadline has already passed for the submission of it, but it will be submitted to next year's one. And the deadline was the 12th of February. There is the late deadline, but I will be unable to get that deadline because that deadline is in a couple of weeks. So this will be submitted for next year.
Okay.
And thank you for listening. That's it.
Alright, well done.
God.